So did school fail you, or you failed school?
School failed me. School's failing entrepreneurs every single day.
The question I ask all over the world, what does school teach you about money? And the answer is nothing. And that's not a mistake. That's not an accident.
I think a lot of things people learn, probably there's no point in learning them, because they never use them in the future. Because a lot of kids just in school kind of puzzled as to why they're there.
The A students work for the B students, the C students run the businesses, and the D students dedicate the buildings.
Well, oftentimes business education today, and I see it all the time, kids come out of college, the best colleges, Wharton and Harvard and Stanford and some of the great business schools, and they'll come out and they won't have practical experience. There's too many case studies that aren't practical.
Because it's not built for entrepreneurship. It's built for workers.
The people who are doing the work that we care about are figuring out what to do next, not following the person who told them what to do next. And the problem with most colleges is they are high school, but with more binge drinking.
I mean, I hated going to school when I was a kid. It was torture.
You're being taught to play within the lines. And there's nothing being taught that maps to the entrepreneurial market.
It's like the newspaper industry, right? More printing presses, more big buildings, right? Makes us look grander. We have brains that we're putting them out there. There's a point of diminishing returns in terms of what it's worth for a college education and how much debt you're willing to saddle yourself with.
The entire purpose of a good university is to give you a foundation to fail, not a foundation to get an A. And if you graduate from college with straight A's, you have to do some serious soul searching as to why you chose to spend your time doing that.
You know, we ask kids that are 16 to 18 years old to make $100,000 debt decisions when they go off to university. And they are not prepared for that. They don't know what they're getting themselves into. They just assume, okay, I'm going to pay 4 years of education at $25,000 a pop, and when I come out the other side, somehow I'll be able to pay it back.
Right.
That's not how life works anymore.
I mean, it's actually kind of funny, you know, if you think of like what is education, like you're basically downloading data and algorithms into your brain. And it's actually amazingly bad in conventional education, because like it shouldn't be like this huge chore.
Go to school, get a job, pay taxes, save money, buy a house because it's an asset, get out of debt. That creates poor people. It's a hypnosis train going through your brain.
There is very little difference, if any, between a very high-priced business education and what's available for a lot less money.
I hated school. I really hated school because it was this instruction following thing.
The teachers do not explain why kids are being taught a subject. You just sort of get dumped into math and like, well, why are you learning math? What's the point of this?
The school system was built on memorization of information. Why do I have to do any math? I have a calculator on my iPhone that can give you any math. I don't need to know anything. I can ask Siri and Alexa in 2 seconds, they'll give me the answer. You know, who cares about the periodic table when I can tell you what, like it's so uncomfortably outdated globally because it's predicated on memorization of information in a world where we have information at our fingertip within a second for zero cost. The whole thing's dead.
You have to make mistakes to learn, but our schools punish you for making mistakes. And then they also punish you for asking for help because that's called cheating. I call it cooperation.
Yeah.
So that everything is opposite from school. You know, entrepreneurs are not going to make good employees.
There's no need even to have a college degree at all, or even high school. I mean, if somebody graduated from a great university, that may be an indication that they will be capable of great things, but it's not necessarily the case. You know, if you look at, say, people like Bill Gates or Larry Ellison, Steve Jobs, these guys didn't graduate from college. But if you had a chance to hire them, of course, that would be a good idea.
Yeah. I was a very happy kid, but I hated school. Like on a different planet.
I think having the flexibility to explore a lot of different things, which you can do when you're in college, which is one of the amazing things about being in college, is you can work on all these hobbies and code a lot of stuff and try a lot of different things. It's this amazing flexibility that I think most people take for granted. And once you decide, okay, I'm going to start a company and I'm going to do it with someone else, you immediately now need to convince someone else if you want to change your mind on something. And I think people really undervalue the option value and flexibility. I think explore what you want to do before committing is really really like the key thing. And keep yourself flexible. And no, I think that's. I
agree. How many people go through business classes? If everything you needed was in that actual business class, in that book, it'd be too many successful business people. Right. How many people graduate? Matter of fact, the professor wouldn't have the time to sit there and teach you. That knows this book damn near verbatim, page by page, he knows it, right?
Because he'd be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, he's too busy.
If you're in the first year of university, I normally say drop out. Or if you haven't gone to school, I normally say don't start. And a lot of parents hate me. If you're in the second year of a 3-year program, finish. If you're in the third year of a 4-year program, finish. But if you're in your first year of medical school, forget about it. I mean, the medical school and the residency and all that takes too long.
My son graduated from college, right? Yep. And, marketing, business, right? Comes to work for me after 7 days or 10. He goes, I learned more in 10 days than I did in all my year. It's like the shit they teach you in college is nonsense.
Still tell kids to go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, and get out of debt. Now, who tells them to do that? That's the most ridiculous thing there is.
It's an extremely corrupt system we have at this point. We have an education bubble. In the US, we have $1 trillion of student debt.
And for the guys that were part of the group that had gone to the business school, said we learned more in 10 days than we ever learned at the other schools. How can you charge 200 grand for an MBA if it doesn't take 2 years? In my judgment.
So they're worthless, MBAs.
Correct.
But for the average person, I think this whole thing that you must go to college is utter bullshit. It's a scam. They're taking the student loan money from the bank so the colleges raise there. Nothing has gone up more in price faster than tuition.
If you want to ask for a 40 grand loan to the bank, you're not going to get it. But if you go for a student loan,
and now
they'll
watch,
give it to you.
But most kids, they end up in a mountain of fucking debt. So they allow people to borrow money who had no business borrowing money. They inflate the value of a bogus diploma because it's worth nothing in the real world, okay? Except if it's from a very special place, right? In certain cases, it's an exemption. Yeah. But here's the other part of the equation. You can't discharge a student loan with bankruptcy. So unlike other debt, the government has changed the fucking rules. You can't discharge it. Okay, so you're fucking stuck.
I don't know what's going to happen to the university system over the next 20 years, but I'm certainly not optimistic about it.
What is it that business schools are doing wrong?
That over the last 40 or so years, that a great many business schools were teaching nonsense.
Oh my God, it's horrible. People talk about bubbles. Are we in a college tuition bubble? Absolutely. And will that bubble burst? Absolutely. And typically behind every bubble, there's a lot of easy money and companies taking advantage of the easy money and inflating their revenues. And what colleges are doing are no different. It's easy to borrow money to go to school, to get a student loan because it's all guaranteed, and colleges are happy to take it. And it's easy to raise tuition because as long as students can borrow as much as they need, why wouldn't you raise your tuition? Kids can't graduate from school and go, lease new apartments or buy new homes or buy new cars or go out and buy a new suit. Instead, they've got to just, pay back their student loans, and that's a huge drain on our economy.
I fucking hated school. I thought school was the worst thing ever. The thing is with school teaches you to be an employee. It doesn't teach you to be the owner of a company. It teaches you to be an employee. For me, I feel like school doesn't prepare you for real life. It just throws you in a building and says, learn this, learn that. And a lot of the time I go, why?
Well, first of all, you don't need college to learn stuff, okay? Everything is available basically for free. You can learn anything you want for free. It is not a question of learning. There is a value that colleges have, which is seeing whether can somebody work hard at something, including a bunch of sort of annoying homework assignments, and still do their homework assignments, and kind of soldier through and get it done. That's like the main value of college. And then also, if you probably want to hang around with a bunch of people your own age for a while instead of going right into the workforce. So I think colleges are basically for fun and to prove you can do your chores, but they're not for learning.